Welcome to the ACC Panic Room alongside Lauren Brownlow. I'm Joe Ovies. Duke and State are supposed to play on Saturday, and both teams could really use a pick-me-up, given the way the seasons are going.
Well, good news for them is one of them has to win. It's in the rules.
Is it, though? I mean, it is
is
2020, 2021. Stranger things have happened, you know?
What, like they'll get like some positive COVID test in the middle of the game or something?
I don't know. Maybe somebody will show up on Snapchat maskless at a party. I mean, it's kind of the theme of the week, right? Now let's actually talk about State first before we get to Duke's game earlier in the afternoon and their loss to Notre Dame. And I know Brett Friedlander, who covers NC State, asked this question. It's a valid question. It's one that we've had on the Panic Room a couple of times. State keeps doing the same damn thing. I mean, I really don't know other way to put it. It doesn't matter if they're coming off a pause. It doesn't matter if Devin Daniels is in the lineup. It doesn't matter if they've got DJ Funderburk on a particular night. You know, you can see the positives, and sometimes they can put it together in the first half, but they just can't sustain it. And they, as DJ Funderburk eloquently put it after the game, they keep shooting themselves in the foot. And I know you tweeted this, and I think it bears repeating. You know, DJ Funderburk has been a little bit of a roller coaster of a season for NC State, but there's one thing he is consistent with. He's very candid in the post games, and he kind of gave exactly what you needed to hear if you're an NC State fan. They know they keep making mistakes.
This is where I miss being in post game locker rooms a lot because DJ is a guy that if it's an open locker room, I would always gravitate right to. He or Braxton, because especially DJ would just tell it like it is, man. Like, even if it's not always the best thing for him to be saying, he'll just say it.
Yep.
And this was fine what he said. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I love guys like that that'll tell you exactly what's going on and not mince words about it. And he was right. I mean, it has varied some in the way it's happened, because he even said sometimes teams hit us right in the mouth early and we can't come back because it's too much. Sometimes it's the second half that's the problem. But either way, like, we just can't get out of our own way. And I thought it was interesting what he said, too, about, you know, they were kind of thinking too much about everything they were doing. Like, they were in their heads about what they were doing. And Kevin Keats mentioned, like, trying to have the same play over and over again. You know, it's like, ooh, this might work. And it's like, well, no, you have to be able to make different kinds of plays against the zone or else it's not going to work. And yeah, I mean, and turnovers. I mean, that's you know, you can't do that. You can't do that against almost anybody, but certainly not against a capable offensive team. You can't turn it over 13 times and a half. I thought it was interesting what Keith said actually about, like, we felt fortunate to be only down one, and he has a point.
Kevin Keats was basically the tweet that I love at halftime of any ACC contest.
Yeah.
All things considered, ... we are fortunate to be ... down by whatever number. So when Kevin Keats said that after but it's true, though. When you turn the ball over that many times and Syracuse is making you pay for it, you were fortunate to be down only one at halftime.
Yeah, and James Henderson had been kind of asking the players before Keats, too, about, like, and that's where the question came from with Keats, like, did you feel like you missed some opportunities because you shot well, and if you hadn't turned it over so much, you know, you might have been in the lead. And he's like, no, I mean, after turning it over 13 times,
yeah,
it's like, okay, I can see that. Because all the players were kind of like, yeah, it's frustrating because, like, if we just not turned it over so much. But I'm sure Keats, watching from the sideline, is just, like, tearing his hair out, and he's like, wait, we're only down one?
Yeah, and it's interesting that both Mike Krzyzewski and Kevin Keats, after their games today, respectively, referred to, look, they're playing hard, they're trying. It's just that they're not exactly making the right basketball decisions. They're not playing smart. To transition over to Duke, I actually thought the postgame for Duke's loss to Notre Dame was fascinating on a couple different fronts because Mike Krzyzewski's not mad per se.
No.
I think he is accepted, much like it took us a little bit of time to accept, ooh, maybe this isn't a good Duke team. They've got some nice players, but in terms of their actual, the actual production of this team, it's not good. Defensively, they're not good. But Mike Krzyzewski, I thought, handled the post game brilliantly by saying, look, they tried, they got it down. They could have played smarter defensively. They allowed Notre Dame to get a lot of open looks at three. But he wasn't necessarily disappointed with the effort. I think he keeps talking about the whole deserve to win concept. And there's only one time, and that was a loss here recently on the road, where he talked about they didn't deserve to win. They didn't play the way that they were supposed to play. That was after the Clemson win, and then just laid an egg after that. I think K's just kind of accepted what this team is. Now they just got to work with what they got.
Yeah, and I did notice. I mean, I think he's accepted it for longer than we actually think because
Probably.
he's been pretty positive about them for the most part, except Miami, and I don't think that's unfair. You know, I
No,
think
that he was completely justified in the way that
yeah,
he talked about that Miami loss.
right. And I mean, but this Duke team, like in the Ken Pom era, right, which he was tracking going back to '99. It looks like
Mm-hmm.
this is. It looks like this is the only Duke team to ever allow an effective field goal percentage over 50%, and they're allowing 53.4%. Like the 3-point shooting, it's insane. Duke is close to last in the country in 3-point defense.
Mm-hmm.
Duke, like Duke, this is not. It'd be like North Carolina being last in rebounding. You know,
Right, right.
like
Something's
that's
going terribly wrong for you. And the funny thing is, it's not like Duke's been great defensively over the last couple of years. There's been a slow and steady decline.
no,
But
but
they've
this is extra
played,
bad. Yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying. They've played just enough, or they've done just enough defensively to keep other teams honest, or to put themselves in contention in the
Or
regular
they're
season.
so good. They're so good offensively,
Right.
too,
It can
that
it can
doesn't matter.
overcome everything, right?
Like
This
my favorite
team,
Duke team, the 2014 team with Rodney Hood on it. Defense
right.
optional. That team actually allowed a higher defensive efficiency than this team, but not by much. Only 2 Duke teams have ever allowed a higher one.
But you just got to it though. It was a team that at least could overcome offensively. This team
Yes.
can't even do that. I think that's the other part. The similarities between North Carolina, NC State, and Duke is the fact that who is the guy that consistently steps up, right? I mean, for Duke, maybe you
Yes.
say it's Matthew Hurt, but the last time we saw Matthew Hurt in a big game for Duke, he got into foul trouble. He only played 19 minutes. In the case of NC State, in the absence of Devin Daniels, who has been the guy to step up? You'd think it'd be DJ Funderburk, but he's had some issues to deal with. We can commend DJ Funderburk for his post game comments. He's been absolutely right in the things that he said. But there's been a little push and pull with the coaching staff and not showing up in the first half. So it's like this lack of go-to guys or guys that are like, look, we're going to lead off of my example. And now they meet on Saturday. And defensively, both these teams aren't very good. So I would expect that we should get an offensive showdown. I mean that would be my assumption on Saturday, but I don't know.
I've got to tell you, after this year's like State Duke football game, I really didn't think there'd be like a more depressing game between those two. And this might qualify.
Yeah.
And that's not
Is
to
it going to
say
be as
State's
chippy?
bad.
It's not going to be as chippy as that football game.
That's right. That's the thing. This isn't me saying State was bad at football. I'm just saying like that game was just a rock fight and horrible on the eyes. They lose Devin Leary during it. Like it was awful all around. It was depressing. And this might be more depressing, weirdly.
And then we're a month out from the ACC tournament, and there's been a lot of talk of teams opting out. What's the ACC tournament going to look like? I mean, we're at the point now where Duke might just by default get to the semifinals because there might not be a lot of teams available.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. I know y'all have had your precious back jokes all year long, and
I mute those. When somebody puts that in my mentions, I immediately mute it or block it.
You know what I've decided that we could consider starting to do? I think I may do this. If somebody says to me, Kay's going to quit before the season's over, just watch, I'm going to tell that person, okay, fine, like we can roll with that joke. But then if he doesn't, you have to delete your Twitter account. Because I'm so tired of these jokes. Like it has been almost 30 years.
Well,
people.
There's that, and there's also much more context provided for the reasons why.
That's a whole other thing, right? But like at the same time, it's like he has said it every opportunity. They're not going to stop this. They're not going to stop playing, y'all. I have news.
Oh, well, no, but the thing is, I guess the difference is that part of our job is to, while we're not there and we're not getting a lot of the context that we typically receive when we go to basketball games throughout the season, right? I mean, that's a big reason why I like going to games. I mean, do I want to have a bunch of people hanging over me at Cameron Indoor Stadium? Not all the time, but you're able to pick up on a lot of context with the way things are going. And as being able to watch these Zoom calls on a consistent basis, if you actually pay attention to what Mike Krzyzewski's saying, and I know that's a hard thing to do because, oh my goodness, it's Mike Krzyzewski. I don't like him, right? If you actually pay attention to the things that he's been saying this year, everything has had purpose behind it. During the Christmas break, the winter break, there were reasons behind why he did what he did, and also made it abundantly clear that while he's got some questions about why the heck they're playing college basketball in the middle of a pandemic, it never really was about the ACC, because I think other ACC schools trust each other to do the right thing. And he's also, if you paid attention to tonight's comments from Mike Krzyzewski, he's bringing up other years in which they've had down years. And it's not just 1995, right? There were other seasons. I mean, there was a whole documentary on the ACC network, right? Early on, the classic Save Coach K. He talked about the learning experiences. If you stick with this, there is something to be taken out of it. And that's the message that's going to the team. And I think it's the right message going to the team. And I think we'll close on this because I think, no, go ahead.
No, I think it's interesting. Yeah, I thought that was interesting what he said too. And I think, he pretty much just kind of said, look, like when he said it the other day too, when you're around long enough, you're going to have a season like this. Like it is what it is. Like he knows, like no one's firing him at Duke. Like his legacy is not taking a hit for this. So, and I've been impressed because and this is part of why Mike Krzyzewski's Mike Krzyzewski. He's not a good loser. He's usually a very sore loser. Like, I'm just being real. Like, I'm not saying he's like a jerk.
No, you're not. No, that's not a turn.
He's not a good loser. I'm sure he doesn't want to keep a habit out of it, but he's become a good loser. I think because he understands what this team is. And he also made it clear, by the way, because I thought this was interesting when Brendan Marksford brought it up. He didn't allude to this specifically, but basically he mentioned like Henry Coleman and getting him some good minutes and stuff like that. And Kay was like, I want to be clear though, like we're not like just trying to get people experience here. Like,
no, he wants to win.
Like we're not playing out the string, essentially.
Yeah,
like we're trying.
He's trying to find a way to still make something of this season.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's going to be interesting that, Duke is the team that back in March was a big reason why we did not have the rest of the ACC tournament. And now they're probably looking at the ACC tournament as a way to redeem their season. That is, if there's an ACC tournament. But I did want to close on this because I think this is an important note. The schools within the ACC are the most level-headed of everyone as it relates to this basketball season, right? Whether it's the COVID pauses, whether it's what are we doing here type things, right? They've been very candid this season, every single one of the coaches, in their own different ways. Roy's been candid about this. Mike Krzyzewski's been candid about it. You can go to Pitt with Jeff Capel. He's been candid too. They all seem to understand, look, man, we have to adjust with the way things are going. And this was evident on Monday when Miami and North Carolina did not play a basketball game. And they're not going to play this basketball game because they're running out of time. And Miami's not all that interested in traveling back up here, having already spent the money
to be honest, they shouldn't really have to.
And they shouldn't have to, right? So when Armando Bacot and Day'Ron Sharp show up in a Snapchat video at a party without masks, which involved people that weren't supposed to be at that party, which, I mean, come on, it's college. Who hasn't thrown a party in college and people that weren't invited to the party end up showing up, Lauren?
I mean, listen.
I can speak to experience on this, okay?
I looked around for athlete parties to crash. I never found I looked around.
That's another panic room for another day. But no, I mean, like, these things happen on a college campus. But besides the point, North Carolina and Miami had a conversation. Miami lets North Carolina know, hey guys, so we were on Twitter today and we saw this video of your guys at this maskless party, man. We're not comfortable playing this game. And North Carolina told them, look, we've been testing, we've been following the protocol, everybody's negative, we could play this game as it stands right now. But Miami was still like, we're uncomfortable with this.
They're like, have you heard about the incubation period?
Right. I mean, any number of reasons. And North Carolina just goes, okay, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Well, sure. Boston College and Florida State a couple of weeks ago probably would not have played if Jim Christian and Leonard Hamilton got on the phone and Jim Christian tells him, hey, man, I got 4 scholarship players, right?
That was Jim's administration making that call as he made clear,
But the coaches get it, right? Like they ultimately get it. They probably wouldn't have played that game, but you're right. The administration at BC said, no, you guys are going to play this game. We're going to play at the string. All of this is just to say, if they have a better handle on this and they seem they're disappointed that the season's kind of playing out the way that it is, but they're much more accepting of the weirdness of it all to a certain extent that maybe we should probably take the same attitude too.
Yeah, I think
just a thought.
From what I gathered, the problem Roy's going to have is way less seemingly with what happened, although that's not ideal, and more with the fact that he didn't find out about it on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's going to be what he's going to probably take a bigger issue with. As he said in the statement, they made a mistake. It's unfortunate. They've apologized, but like, I think he said something like, they're going to like bear the consequences of it or something like that in the statement.
Yeah, and he talked about it. He talked about it on his radio show today.
Yeah.
And he had some more comments about learning from mistakes and things like that. And that's all you can really hope for. Because I do think, by the way, and we'll close on this, the only reason why this has kind of hit a point in the discourse about forfeiture of games, will they be suspended, et cetera, et cetera. The only reason why it's at this point is because of all the postponements, and we've had about 30 postponements in the ACC. Several programs that have gone through their pauses: Clemson, NC State, Louisville, Florida State. I mean, we've seen a number of BC, obviously. We've seen a number of teams have to go through these cases, and about 30 have been postponed. But we don't know why, right? We don't know. It's not like players just magically got COVID. You know, as I joked around on the show today, is that there's no immaculate infection in this particular case. They probably got this because they were also living the life on campus too. I mean, they
could have gotten it from that. They could have gotten it from, seeing their parents. We just
it could have been any number of things, but we don't know, and it's not going to be something that we know.
It's not really any of our business.
It's ultimately not our right to know. In this particular case. Yeah. It just happened to be caught on video and put out there, and now people want to make a big deal out of it again.
Yeah, and I think that there's more sympathy now when things like this happen than there were at the beginning of this too, because like when the Louisville soccer players got kicked out of school, nobody batted an eye because they held the party. Nobody batted an eye because everybody was like, what are you doing? Like, we're just getting sports going again on campus. Like, we know how dangerous this is. And back then too, like a lot more people I feel like were shut down, and everybody was trying their best to stay cautious and stay home. And I think we see increasingly fewer and fewer people wanting to do that. So I think it becomes way harder.
Now everybody is mentally wiped. I mean, it's as simple as that. Everybody's mentally mentally wiped. I'm mentally wiped from doing the ACC Panic Room.
I'm definitely mentally wiped.
So I think we're just going to end it here. That's going to wrap it up for the ACC Panic Room. NC State and Duke are going to be playing this weekend. Your guess is as good as mine as what we're going to see.
Maybe we'll see a butt slap.
No. But if we see the replay of Mark Godfrey doing it, bonus.
Over and over.